Okay, Brad. So I see you want to talk a little bit about all the objects that make up Volume Manager and File System, which is Storage Foundation. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. So the first key object that we have with Storage Foundation is disks. Right? Now, if you think about it from a server perspective, it might have a couple of internal disks, and then there's going to be some number of LUNs out on the SAN. Right? Maybe these two are from an EMC array. Maybe these two are from a Hitachi array. Okay? Volume Manager, when it starts up, identifies all those disks. And so from a Volume Manager perspective, we would have 6 disks. 2 internal disks, 4 LUNs. Once those disks are under Volume Manager control, especially the LUNs, then we can create what's called a disk group. A disk group is just a collection of disks. Now, the key differentiator on how you do that collection of disks is typically by application. So let's say we have a sales order application running on this machine. Right? So we're going to take these 4 LUNs and put them into a disk group, and maybe we'll call it orders DG. Right? So it's relative to that application. Now that we have disks in a disk group, now we can start carving them up and using them for something. So the first thing we do is we create what's called a volume. Okay? A volume is basically just a collection of disks for some purpose. Right? For example, maybe we create a volume across those 3 disks and we call it orders vol. Right? And then maybe we create a volume on that disk and we call it cust, short for customer. Right? So whatever the application needs, you use the disks in the disk group to create those volumes. The next object is called a Plex. A Plex is within a volume, and it's a complete copy of the data. Right? So in this example with orders vol, whatever is inside orders vol, be it a file system, be it a database, whatever the case, a Plex is a complete copy of that data. When we have more than one Plex, we have more than one copy of the data, now we have redundancy. I'll come back to that in a minute. The last thing we have within a Plex is called a subdisk. A subdisk is contiguous disk space on one of the disks that makes up that volume. Right? All of these objects are actually just logical objects except for subdisks. They're the only thing that physically exist. Looking at it from a little different view, it would look like that. We have a volume. Within a volume, we have a Plex. Within a Plex, we have, in this example, a single subdisk. If I had a second Plex, maybe I have 2 subdisks. Now, as I mentioned, multiple Plexes gives you redundancy. So each Plex is a complete copy of the data. So if I actually had a file system, maybe called /orders, and I had 3 files in that file system, that complete file system is located within each Plex. So another way to look at that in this example Plex, this entire thing would be a single subdisk, maybe on this first disk. That second Plex is made up of 2 subdisks. Right? The first one maybe has the A file, the second one has the B and C files. All in all, though, this entire Plex is a complete copy of the data, 1 subdisk. This Plex is a complete copy of the data, 2 subdisks.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking us through what all the Storage Foundation objects are, Brad. Thank you.